Hello and Happy New Year, just about, and welcome to the first Fun Skills webinar of 2019. For once, we're all in the same room, so we were trying to get ourselves on camera. Whether we are or not, we're not quite sure at the moment, but you may see us or you may not. But anyway, it's the usual Fun Skills 3 crew. It's Catherine Cooper. Had a break?
I had a lovely break, thank you, Paul. Very nice. Nice to be back.
And Amanda Kelly.
Hi, guys. Yes, I'd like being back in routine, and I'm looking forward to what this year's going to bring us.
And myself, Paul C. Refreshed and trying to sort of get into a January detox, which is sort of not working too badly so far. So anyway, on to the presentation. See us all again in picture form. It's the usual drill. Please post any questions as they come into your mind. We can't promise to answer them all live, but if not, we'll bank them and we'll add them to the ever-growing list of FAQs about the functional skills reforms. This month's session is really about taking stock. We've just over 8 months to go until the reformed functional skills qualifications go live. We'll reflect a little bit on the story so far, but also it's a chance for us to gauge a little bit more what you find useful in the coming months. It'll therefore be a little bit more interactive than we've done in some previous sessions, and ask you to answer a number of poll questions over the course of them. That's if you've joined us live rather than watching later on catch-up. Apologies in advance if you are on catch-up, because you will find the polling a little bit frustrating, but you'll understand why we're doing it over here. So, let's take stock and let's take our first poll. So I'll throw to Catherine first.
So I've got technical difficulties just because we're all in the same room. Normally it's very smooth and we're across the country, but never mind. So if this is your first webinar, just to update you of where you can find our updated information and previous recordings of our webinars, all of which can be found on our functional skills updates page. The link is provided on the slide deck, so you can just click on the link to prevent you searching for the information. The Functional Skills Updates page will also provide you with the resources that we've produced so far to help you prepare for the changes ahead. Also, if you haven't already done so, we encourage you to sign up for our email alerts and events, and encourage colleagues also. This is so we can keep you updated with our new information and updates about our upcoming network events for the new reform. So I'm now going to hand you over to Amanda.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, so we have 2 news items this month. Firstly, following consultation, the Department for Education has confirmed that the new functional skills qualification will have an increased GLH value of 55 guided learning hours. The other thing to tell you is that City and Guilds have agreed their plans for withdrawing the current suite of qualifications with Ofqual, and we're going to be sharing these important dates with you later in this presentation. It's always worth mentioning at this point that although Functional Skills ICT hasn't been part of this reform process, we will be keeping the suite of qualifications together, and ICT will move across into our new offer. Cool.
Back to me. And this is the polls now. Joe's jumping into himself in the second event. So we'll launch the first one, which is how confident do you currently feel about the funds? People give a few more seconds to vote. Yeah. Three, two, close that one. So, results, just to sort of tell you, we're kind of generally hovering between the fairly confident and not too sure. Not too sure, kind of edging it. But nearly 10% saying, yay, bring it on. Thankfully, only 1% if you're saying, only these functional skills changing. So thank you for that one. We'll go on to the next one, which is slightly different tack here. How well would you say your organisation is prepared? Okay. Okay, we'll close that one. And the results here. 3% of you saying totally prepared and we just want to get started. 46% say they know a fair bit. So again, most of you kind of in the middle of it. Thankfully, nobody here is saying it's functional skills changing, but there's still a few of you haven't really started to sort of look. But again, thanks for your honesty there. Next question. How many of these webinars have you attended or seen? Now I'll close that. That's interesting. Kind of the chunk of you actually quite new this time. This one, so that's. Next one. Final question in this sequence. Good mixture. We'll close it. So we've got 44% are either teacher or tutor and lecturer. About 22% describe yourself as a coordinator, 16% as sort of department or curriculum head, and 17% senior leaders, and a couple of heads of centres. That's good. Thanks for that. That's sort of the end of this sort of sequence on screen sharing, so you see that. Great. And I'll go to Catherine for the next bit.
So we currently have 3 documents to help you prepare for the changes for the new functional skills reform. Firstly, we have our readiness guide. This document has 4 stages to help you prepare for the changes that will take effect from September 2019. It contains a checklist to help support you to have everything in place before the actual changes occur. Then we have our subject content mapping documents for English and mathematics. These documents enable you to view the new functional skills content statements and see how they compare to the current functional skills criteria and adult literacy standards. You'll be able to identify any changes easily by the red text. So, to help us gauge how useful these documents are for you, we just have 2 quick polls for you. So, first one is, how many of these resources have you accessed? So if you can click select all that apply. That's quite interesting results, actually, quite sort of spread fairly evenly about everybody's sort of seen most of the documents. And interestingly, nearly a quarter of you haven't seen before. but that's interesting for us to take away. Okay then, so if we go to our next poll. How useful have you found these resources? Okay, that's really, again, very interesting. We can see that nearly half of you haven't looked at them, and a quarter have found them either very useful or useful. So that's really interesting. Okay, right, thank you for that, and we'll move on to Amanda.
So I thought it was probably worth a quick reminder, especially since we're talking to you, some of you for the first time, a quick reminder about the main drivers for the new functional skills qualifications. And we're talking here about maths and English. Entry level, for example, has a very different focus, with learners having to develop a sound grasp of basic underpinning skills. Whereas at level 1 and 2, these underpinning skills are still being assessed, but we want to know that the learner can apply those skills effectively across a range of purposes and situations. And that reflects what we know of functional skills as it is currently in terms of problem solving. This discrete assessment of maths and English skills sees the introduction of word lists for entry level English. And with learners not being able to use dictionaries, spell or grammar checkers at any level when they're taking the writing assessment, we know that spelling is a clear focus for assessment. Meanwhile, in maths, the introduction of a non-calculator element of the assessment will test candidates' mental arithmetic skills and may need a different approach to teaching in the classroom. Paul?
Talking of strategies, here's an interesting one that we sort of ran recently. Hopefully some of you will have been able to join the special Fun Skills webinar that we ran last month, where Claire Collins walked us through the support program that the Education and Training Foundation is running to support the use of phonics within post 16 learners. It was a really good session, and if you weren't able to join it, I'd strongly recommend engaging with the program if you haven't done so. There were, for a number of reasons, we weren't actually able to record Claire's session, although the link on this slide, as usual, will be sending these out in the next day or so. We'll take you directly to more information about this. It is worth noting, however, that the ETF is holding a webinar about this next Tuesday, the 15th. So if you did manage to catch Claire's session with us last month, that may well be another chance to kind of learn a bit more about this. The point that really stuck in my mind from Claire's presentation was her comment right at the start that this isn't about teaching phonics, it's about using phonics as one of a number of strategies to teach reading and spelling. If we think of it in those terms, some of the concerns about phonics being added to the subject content for English at entry level might hopefully start to dissipate.
Okay, so to help us with you taking stock, we've inserted the links to some useful documents, events, webinars and CPD events. Firstly, we have the DFE subject content documents. This link enables you to access the functional skills content. These are the standards for both mathematics and English. This link will also take you to the Ofqual regulatory documents for the new qualifications that awarding organisations need to work to. The Education and Training Foundation link provides you with their range of CPD courses to support the teaching of mathematics and English. AELP is also offering a range of events, workshops, forums and webinars for providers to work-based learning across all sectors. And we at City and Guilds are also offering Maths and English CPD programmes, which we'll look at more closely further along the webinar. So, again, to help us take stock, we have 2 quick polls to help develop how we can help you. So, have you accessed the DFE subject content document? Okay then. That's good, thank you. Yeah, quite interesting results there. Yeah, a quarter of you, yes, have read through it, just glanced at it and have looked at it, yeah, and some of you haven't got round to looking at it yet. So, right, so we can move forward with that. Thank you. And the next question, have you accessed any other maths and English resources? Okay then, that's great. Thank you for your honesty in these. It's nice to see, we can see that a third of you have. We can actually use this information to move forward and see how we develop these webinars and see what resources we can do to help to provide for you as well. Okay then, I'll hand you back over to Amanda.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the transition between existing functional skills qualifications and the new offer that will start in September 2019. As I mentioned earlier, we finalised our plans for the closure of the existing suite of functional skills qualifications, 3748. You will remember that the last registration for these qualifications is 31st of August 2019, with first teaching for the reformed qualifications for Maths and English starting on the 1st of September 2019. In order for us to make a smooth transition, both here at City and Guilds, but also for our customers, the last assessment date that we will be offering for learners registered on the existing 3748 suite will be the end of April 2020. This will allow us to put in place any final external quality assurance monitoring that needs to take place, and the final date for all of that EQA activity to be taken by is the 31st of July 2020, with final certification for 3748 functional skills being the 31st of August 2020. We're going to put this information in an email alert in a nice clear way, and we will put it on our website so that in a table format to make it very easy for both teachers and exams coordinators to see where they will need to complete activity. These dates will apply to functional skills ICT too, but as the assessments are not being changed for this, this will just mean that candidates who are registered for 374803 will be able to transfer their ICT registrations across to the new suite. This is a difficult thing to put over to words, and we know that people will have questions. So if you have any more queries relating to this transition activity, then we will place the information on the updates page, but you can always email us on functionalsfreforms@cityandguilds.com. Paul, over to you.
Just, I think also, just before we move on, it's worth saying it's probably the first time that we've publicly announced the new 4-digit number for functional skills.
Nice.
Well.
I'm so used to it.
So we'll have a drum roll for that. So it's we were very imaginative. We went, so we're going from 3748 to 478. That number will obviously become, I think, very familiar to all of us over the coming months. What we haven't finalised yet is the structure that sits within that, how the qualifications are. Certainly, also with the new top level number for. And as we said, ICT is also being moved into that new suite, just so functional skills continue to sit on place. So we'll move on. And just really as a bit of a recap, that we have two main digital learning resource products for maths and English. E-functional skills, kind of to the right of the slide, is, as its name suggests, intended to support functional skills on a sort of an end-to-end journey right through to being ready to attempt a live assessment. It sits on the Hodder Dynamic Learning Platform, so we've worked closely with our colleagues at Hodder to develop this content. The Maths and English e-toolkit, meanwhile, is a much broader bank of resources to support Maths and English teaching across a range of contexts, and it's deliberately qualification agnostic. If you'd like to know more about both of these, there are links from our Maths and English web pages. Another thing, just to give you a quick heads up about, is that we're in the process of putting together an extensive programme of launch events for the Reform Functional Skills qualification. The dates aren't quite finalised yet, but when they are, you'll be able to search for them using here. Don't just try to do them just yet, however, as the only thing you can see right now is this series of webinars. So, yeah.
Okay, as we briefly touched on earlier, we at City and Guilds are also providing CPD courses. These courses are here to help you with the teaching and learning of maths and English, rather than the old and new functional skills. We do have a large number of dates available, and also just to make you aware, these events are chargeable, so just take that, bear that in mind before you book. These CPD sessions are also entirely separate from the Fun Skills 2019 launch events that we'll be announcing soon. Okay, then. Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, so next month the webinar will take place on the 6th of February at our usual start time of 3:30. If you would like us to answer any specific questions, please submit them to fsreform@cityandguilds.com, and we will ensure that we try and cover as many questions as possible. We have in the question box some questions about finding documents, so we will make sure that links to the appropriate documents are placed on the updates page so that everybody has access to them, and it might be possible to include them in the follow-up email. Moving down, I understand that sound hasn't been brilliant, so one of the challenges we have in this world of digital communications is this webinar takes place in a different room each time, and sometimes the acoustics are not very good. So we will apologise, and I think we need to practice speaking up a little bit more. So I'm afraid that a lot of questions do seem to be about the sound. So what we will do is review the questions in the question box, and if there are things that we feel would benefit people to know on a wider basis, we will include them. What we would like to know is if there is other lines of support that you think we could use to help you with this transition to new functional skills, or if there's other information that you would like to be included in the webinar, then please let us know. You can do that by emailing the fsreform@cityandguilds.com box. So I'm going to hand back to Paul.
Just a couple of kind of notable questions that may be probably useful to sort of touch upon, because there are things that we can pick up now, and hopefully if I speak up a bit, hopefully it's a bit clearer. The microphone here is a bit strange in this room. I won't move anything, otherwise it might lose completely. A couple of questions. One was about if the internal and external assessments have to be complete by the end of April 2020, why is final certification so much later?
So because there is a requirement by Ofqual that all moderation and external quality assurance takes place, we need to allow a minimum of 3 months, and in fact we've allowed 4 months to make sure that all external visits, all internal quality assurance takes place and all external quality assurance takes place, and then exams teams have time to make that final claim in order to make sure that certification happens by that end date. I do realise that sounds like a long time in advance, but actually we're giving you lots of warning of that so that you can make your plans accordingly.
I mean, the real issue, I think, from our perspective, and it's where this is slightly different from a normal sort of phase out. And certainly, those of us with long enough memories to remember other changes will be familiar with this. Is that Ofwat is saying very clearly that August deadline is an absolute deadline. In the past, we've had a certain amount of latitude to allow late certification. They really are taking a zero tolerance approach to that, and that's why we've really put these slightly more draconian sort of plans in place to try and make sure that we don't have anybody kind of running against that deadline, to make sure everybody needs to be certificated under the old quals are able to do so. Another quick question, hopefully you can still hear me, and this was about EAL students using bilingual dictionaries during exams. I guess really reading the subtext of that question, that would be about given the change to English and change from to writing. I think really the answer is EAL students will be in the same situation as everybody else. You'll be able to use dictionaries and other resources for reading, but not for writing. It will be obviously that will be the same across all learners and regardless of their background. Another question: will any of the training be free, as we have a ban on training due to costs? I think that's really the difference between the CPD sessions that Catherine was talking about a second ago versus the functional skills launch events. We're certainly not planning to charge for the functional skills launch events, because they are very much about obviously getting you up and running with the new qualifications, and they are, I think, absolutely essential that you're able to engage with those. The CPD events are much more about developing teaching and learning in a broader sense. They are the events that we'll be charging for. I'll just quick glance for any more questions. What about sample assessments? I think really that's the answer. All we can really say in response to that is that we are in the process of working with Ofqual to sort of get agreement on our plans going forward. All organisations are in that situation. We can't really be, whilst we might have been able to sort of share sort of ideas about where assessments are going, and again we're trying to sort of do that through these sessions. The actual definitive, this is what it will be. We can't ultimately share that until we've got the green light from the regulator. Obviously, we're hopeful that we can do that sooner rather than later. And obviously, once we do have those, we'll start sharing those and making you fully aware of those. Part of the reason for us trying to sort of push, I think, the importance of looking at the subject content in the meantime is to set some of that in context. So when you do get to see the assessments that they have, you've got a better understanding, hopefully, of kind of what's driven the change and why things are the way that they are. I think generally you will see a little bit more, because there is more testing skills rather than just sort of deep problem solving. You may well find in some cases some assessments, when they do start to emerge, will look more accessible, but it probably there's a risk of us actually, if we started to share stuff that wasn't absolutely final, there's always a risk that could give you a false sense of where things are going. Obviously, I appreciate there's a certain amount of frustration.
Nice to see some thanks as well for highlighting the resources. I know for some people who have been to probably all the webinars, or a large number of them, I know this is like a repeat for you, but we do have a large number of people who are attending the webinars for the first time. So we do like to sort of recap those and point them out. So it's nice to see that you actually can find those.
Another couple of quick questions. One was about how speaking and listening going to be assessed within the new spec. I think the actual underlying process will be much the same. Still in that being externally verified, externally quality assured, externally verified, as we actually used to call that. So there'll be new paperwork, I would certainly imagine, and that will obviously take account of the fact that there'll be subtle changes. What's expected at the two levels. Another couple of questions about handbooks and so on. I think, again, that really follows on from the previous question, in the sense that that's subject to us obviously getting everything agreed. We are working on handbook documents at the moment, so they will appear as soon as we're able to sort of start releasing. Another question about partial completion on the old qualifications being able to view. I think certainly that's going to arise, I guess, with English. I I think the clear answer to that, certainly the quite strong answer from the regulator, has been that they don't expect any kind of mix and matching of old versus new. They will expect, and again, that's another thing to perhaps factor into this, making sure that everybody's completing what they intended to complete under the old by August 2020. Look for some final questions. ICT, that's another question about what's happening. It's probably worth just quickly mentioning the basic digital skills consultation with the DfE.
So the Department for Education have been working on a new set of standards for adult digital skills in order to replace the existing standards and the existing range of qualifications that are available. Originally, the intention was that this would form the foundation for a reformed version of functional skills ICT, but actually the consultation and the documents themselves and the content has meant that this has had to be reviewed, and the Department for Education have decoupled the reform of the adult skills standards from functional skills ICT, and we're still waiting for an announcement about what the intention for functional skills ICT will be. In the meantime, we have one more day left in the consultation for the DfE, so I would encourage anybody who is interested in ICT skills to explore the new standards and feedback in the consultation, as this is our only opportunity really to do so.
Just another quick question, it's one we could quite quickly answer, which was about the red text in the backing documents. And that was really just to emphasise that anything in red really is where there's a significant or a change of note.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, that's what that is, yeah.
What's going to happen to the adult core curriculum? Will they be reviewed? I think the honest answer there is a good question. I think there was certainly in the background to the reforms an intention that the adult core curriculum documents would be reviewed on the back of it.
This is now sitting with the Education and Training Foundation, and they're taking on responsibility for the adult literacy and numeracy core curriculum. So again, there was some suggestion that they would be announcing something relatively quickly, but the decision was taken that it would be problematic to introduce it as we were introducing new functional skills. So I think that the ETF are holding fire a little at the moment, but it is anticipated that they will make an announcement about the new standards.
Just to clarify one final point, ICT functional skills, although there is this DfE consultation on basic digital skills for adults, there's no immediate plan to do anything to the current ICT functional skills. So they stay as they are for the time being. I guess the links to the consultation, I was going to say the consultation closes tomorrow, doesn't it? So,
yes, I think if you are interested, I would recommend you use our friend Google and you type in adult basic ICT skills consultation, and it will take you to the .gov site. I have issued an alert in the past about it, but it has been a little while, and I think unfortunately our systems don't move quick enough that I can get things out to people and get it on the website today, I'm afraid.
Okay, that probably draws us towards the end of this session. To wrap up, as usual, these webinars will be running every single month between now and the summer. You'll see that we've switched from the pattern we followed during the autumn of having these at the beginning of the month rather than the end. So the next one is going to be on the 6th of February rather than towards the end of the month, and then following that on the 6th of March. Again, Catherine touched on this earlier on in the session, but again, a gentle reminder to sign up for our email updates if you haven't already done so, and please do encourage others to do so too. You can also make a point of checking out our functional skills updates page. Again, I saw a couple of questions about kind of finding those. There'll be a link to those included in the slides, and certainly follow-up that comes out. And crucially, that's where you go to get the readiness mapped up, as well as the links through to the DFE materials. And there's more coming. I've mentioned actually previously on a couple of occasions that we're planning to launch an accident blog. We're really just picking an appropriate moment to sort of get that up and running. So that's again something to look forward to along with the launch event. So we are sort of psyching ourselves up for. So really, just to sort of bring this to an end, we'll have the usual sort of contacts up here. You will see, however, that Catherine has now finally joined the Twitterverse, so you'll be able to follow her now, as well as Amanda and myself, also on LinkedIn, so look out for us there. If you'd like a more detailed walkthrough, either the e-toolkit or the e-functional skills resources that I was talking about earlier on, by all means get in touch with our digital sales team using the email address shown here. You can also contact us with any functional skills reform related queries using the functional skills or FS reform at cityguilds.com address that you can see there again. Just remains for us to thank you once again for giving up your time. Hopefully this has been useful for you. I think certainly the feedback and some of the poll responses have been helpful for us, and we'll hopefully see you again next month.
And we will take the questions offline and respond to those probably in through the frequently asked questions, or if we identify points that need to be more clearly expressed, we will find another way to contact you and let you know.
But again, thanks very much, and goodbye for this month.
Thank you.